Just to start the show off, Andy, can you name all of the Batmen?
Wow. From all the way back from
Let's go back to
uh
black and white early color TV days. Let's
we
go.
were just talking about him. I can't remember what his name is now. Burt Ward was Robin. I can't think of what Batman's name is, but it'll come to me. Hold
his last name is the same as a famous rapper.
West? Adam West.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's a rapper?
So you got Adam West. Kanye, probably.
Nice. He
Okay.
wasn't Batman, though.
Yeah, not my style, but
Okay,
yeah,
what's next?
So you got Adam West, and you would have had Michael Keaton, and then you would have had George Clooney, Val Kilmer. Then you would have had Christian Bale. You would have had Ben Affleck. You would have had, and it's what's his face now from Twilight, Robert Pattinson.
That was a good job. I think that's all of them.
Okay.
And we're going to be talking about that and more on this week's episode of MTME. I am Marcos.
I'm Andy.
And let's go to sit back and relax and let's get into it.
Episode 20!
And the first show we're reviewing this week is From on MGM.
Ooh.
Andy, give us the rundown on what's going on with this show.
You have a town. It traps everybody that enters. You can't ever get out at night. There's zombies that plague people. They sometimes have crazy nightmares that come real. And it's a fun ride. I don't know. That's okay. That's all I got.
A very enthusiastic rundown.
There you go.
But yeah, this show is okay. Let me give you my take on From on MGM. Is it MGM? Like, where do you find this show, actually?
This MGM Plus, I guess is what it is now, but it used to be on Stars. I really would wish they would make it more accessible to people because I feel like it's a show that a lot of people would really enjoy.
Yeah, I had no clue where to even find this show. I ended up just getting the MGM app. If it's on TV, we need to find it because this show is very much recommendable on the second season. So for me, I had to watch the first season, and I almost kind of tapped out because the very first few episodes, I don't think they know what to do with the characters or the story's going. The acting is real bad. The directing is real bad. But as you get to the end of the first season, it starts to pick up. They start giving you more development for the characters because right away in the show, they kill people off. They don't get you to feel anything for any of the characters. They're just fodder for whatever reason. They have 2 lines and they're dead. So you get into the second season and things start picking up. The characters start getting more rooted. You start getting a little more invested in the characters. The way they're trapping the citizens or the people in the village gets more sophisticated, and the story starts getting better developed. So for me, it was a very much a slow train getting into the show. But as you get into the second season, it's actually picked up to where I would consider this a great show.
I agree with that. I mean, I think it's been a great show all along because I think it's so hard to find something that's in the scary horror genre that can keep your interest. And my interest has been kept since the very beginning. But I do agree that it did definitely build. In the beginning, I didn't really care about too many of the characters.
Right.
I do agree with that. And I do feel like now I am vested and I am excited and I want to find out what's going to happen. I want to see who's going to survive.
Yeah.
And it's really, I think overall, I feel that it's really well done. Even from the creepy opening sequence where you've got that evil version of Que sera, sera.
Yeah, the remade song. I love how they are just keeping you on the edge of your seat. You know, we've talked about the carrot and the stick. You know, there's this payoff that you're hoping for. And I really hope they do well by the end of this show because, you know, something like a show like The Walking Dead where it's kind of similar in nature where they're constantly, the characters are always in peril and there's somebody always dying and then they always have to reintroduce a new character. So it's just this constant recycling of people. And this show is like that. So I hope that there will be a good payoff towards the end of it. I'm really genuinely stuck on this show. When I was going through it, I was clicking, let's watch the next one. Let's watch the next one.
Yeah.
But again,
I know that when Jack Bender and Jeff Pinker, who created this, they were also, did you ever watch Lost years ago?
No.
They created Lost. They were some of the creators behind Lost. There were others as well. And they wanted a show that was going to kind of be like that was going to build. I understand that they do have a commitment for at least 3 seasons.
Okay.
So I am excited to know that now that season 2 is almost over, I want to know what's going to happen now in season 3.
Yeah.
I feel like, I know that you mentioned there is maybe some acting that could improve, but I feel like the main 3 do a really good job. You got Harold Perrineau from Lost. He actually played, I just forgot his character name, but he was Walt's dad on Lost.
Oh, okay.
You've got Ian Bailey, who came over from Once Upon a Time. Did you watch Once Upon a Time?
I
He was
did,
in that.
so I recognized him right away.
And then you've got Catalina Sedina Marino. They're probably the three main characters in this. The mom and the dad, that have the kids. And so you got the family, you've got the police officer. And so they're kind of the main ones that we're rooting for. And I think they do a pretty good job with this. I kind of was watching this and I was like, what does this remind me of? And this is kind of like, comes from like a fairyland thing from Scottish and Norse mythology where people find themselves in this parallel universe fighting evil beings. And that's kind of, I think, what is the premise for this show.
Right.
And one thing that's really cool also in this fairyland from Scottish and Norse mythology is that there's these magical trees that are portals. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really interesting that in From, you've got these trees that all of a sudden you go in this tree and, where are you?
Also, it's like a recycled idea from so I never saw it. But I like that idea. I liked how you can be positioned anywhere on the map, and inside this town. I like how they have this ballerina.
Oh yeah,
that's kind of scary with the music, and now it's kind of spread out into the. I'm kind of giving a spoiler here, but it's kind of getting spread out to more than just one character.
Right.
But they incorporate these fairy tales, but one thing I'm having trouble with is still one of the characters on the show, the son of the sheriff. It just seems like they're just beating him up, but they're not really giving him much of an arc. Like he's pretty much one dimensional. Like when I see him on the screen, I kind of like the show least.
Well, I think though too, and I see what you're saying with that, but in the show that you do have so many characters like this, some are gonna kind of just stay the same. Some are gonna kind of grow. And I forgot the character's name, but she was a lady that runs the house on the hill. She seemed kind of like an insignificant character in season 1, but now all of a sudden in season 2, she has this pretty big role. So
yeah, I haven't felt that way about her, but yeah, I get what you're saying, and you're right. There's so many characters that it's hard to write for everything. So they're very much kind of ebbing and flowing in some of the story and some of the characters.
And you've got this bus now that's coming to town, and you've got this character on the bus that has these dreams and can see. It's like I kind of want to know more about that too. So.
Yeah, so they're setting themselves up for something big, and I hope the payoff is done well because this can easily fall apart very fast, kind of like Game of Thrones. Like there was like this. They had so many stories and so many branches going out, and when it came time to tie it in, they kind of failed at it. So
right. I also want to share. I don't always share this because I sometimes think it's crazy because we reviewed a lot of shows on Rotten Tomatoes. Most shows fall in the 60 and 70%. So that's just natural. But this show on Rotten Tomatoes has a 90% rating, which I think is pretty good.
I would agree that the second season is pretty much a 90 as TV shows go. First season, I'd probably give it a 50 or less because it was the writing was really bad. But if you can get past the first season, really stick with it. Get into the second season because you're very much into it.
So overall, first and second season together, what would you rate this?
It's kind of hard. If I had to average it out, I'd probably give it a 7. As far as this kind of genre would go.
I think it's pretty close to what I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it an 8 because I've wanted a show like this on television for such a long time that's a scary show. That's most scary shows are like anthology shows, like a Twilight Zone, where you get one episode at a time.
Right. There's a lot of those.
So it's nice to have an actual show that's keeping me. I want to know what's going to happen. It kind of has some jump scares, has some things like that.
Oh yeah.
And it continues throughout now, obviously through 2 seasons. So I like that. I think it's kind of unique.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen that on television. Sadly, I wish more people had access to it. If you do have access to MGM Plus, I think this is definitely one worth seeing.
Yeah, I might have to put in the comments or above my head here how to easily find it, what channel it might be on. Right. If I can't, I'll post something.
And I think MGM is running like a free 1 week.
Yeah, they are doing a free 1 week. I actually had to sign up for that just to finish watching the show. Because you can see the first season on Amazon.
Yes.
Or Amazon Plus.
You're right, on Amazon, you're right.
So check out the first season there.
And as the song goes, Que sera, sera.
You'll get it if you see it. And the first movie we were watching this week is The Flash.
Pew, 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 yeah.
How fast can we do this review?
Andy, it's over. Just kidding.
Andy, what give us the breakdown on what's going on here.
Oh my goodness. Barry Allen, played by Ezra Miller, travels back in time to prevent the death of his mother. We've seen this story before if you've ever seen any version of Flash. But he meets another version of himself. That's all we needed was 2 Ezra Millers. And then a different Batman, Michael Keaton. That was good. I like seeing him.
Yeah.
And Supergirl, Sasha Calle, I can never say her name right. She's pretty good in this as well. And they got to work together to defeat Zod, who is Michael Shannon, who came back from, I believe it was Zack Snyder's Superman.
Yeah, he came back. I think he said I saw something he needed permission, or he was looking for permission, or like kind of like a sign off to do this film
from Zack Snyder.
Zack
right?
Snyder, yeah. So that's cool that they came back for that. Have you what's Sasha been in? Have you seen her in anything else?
My understanding is this was pretty a new
actress.
Starring, she's a new actress.
I don't think I've ever seen her in anything.
Me neither.
So yeah, she did pretty well playing a Supergirl, or not Supergirl, but or was it Supergirl or some kind of protector that she was?
Kira is normally Supergirl.
Okay,
but
yeah. So I thought she did a great job with that. I love that big old dome they had her, encapsulated in with like, so keeping her weak, and then when she saw the sun, her muscles all popped out. So yeah, no, I thought she did a good job as the Flash. I think Ezra Miller did a great job. I know you don't like his acting or the way he portrayed the character, but I just thought it brought some kind of vulnerability to the character that was, I felt that, maybe had they aged him a little bit, because they did play him like a college age kid, or slightly more than a college age kid. So he's still kind of young, in his 20s. But I don't know.
I just haven't seen many versions of The Flash. I mean, I really, The Flash on TV, although I didn't watch the last couple seasons, I watched the first probably 3 or 4 seasons. Grant Gustin's Barry Allen is just this very believable, very down to earth, very your everyday type guy.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime I've ever seen The Flash, to me, Ezra Miller's Flash is just whiny and cringeworthy, and then all of a sudden, then there was 2 of them, and the second one was worse than the first. So it was like,
Well, I've never seen the show, so I don't have that frame of reference or frame of comparison to really come down on Ezra Miller's performance. But I don't know. I liked it a lot. I liked the way they did the story. I loved how they introduced all the Batman. Spoiler if you're gonna sorry. You haven't seen it yet, but yeah, all Batman's make an appearance.
And Michael Keaton at 71 years old. Holy cow!
Yeah, I don't know. I know he didn't do his own stunts in that kitchen scene, but still, it was really cool having him around doing stuff and flying the bat plane. I like how they brought back all the retro stuff from the '90s.
There's definitely some really good scenes for me here too. And while we're just, not to beat a dead horse with talking about Ezra Miller, but while we're talking about him, I also just want to mention, this double standard in Hollywood. I mean, Ezra Miller, he was allowed to continue in this movie. He was allowed to have this red carpet premiere, and now he's being promoted as the Flash, where you've got, Jonathan Majors, and you've got Armie Hammer, and you've got, I could even say Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these actors that are basically like, you can't act anymore.
Yeah.
And they did similar things to what Ezra Miller did.
Yeah. So yeah, it definitely is a double standard. I don't know what DC's doing or Warner Brothers. Maybe they're just trying to salvage this whole series and they're allowing some kind of special situation for him. I don't know. But yeah, definitely there's been plenty of actors that have done less than he has done that have been canceled, and so unfortunately that's the situation we're dealing with. But again, we need to, looking at this as a review, we're trying to separate the actions of the person versus the movie itself, the story itself that they're trying to tell. And it seems like I know they're trying to do some kind of reboot with the story.
They are. I believe James Gunn now is the one. James Gunn that did Guardians of the Galaxy is now. I think he's kind of leading DC now, isn't he? And my understanding is this will be Ezra Miller's last role as the Flash, and James Gunn will recast that role. I've heard a lot of things out there. I even heard, I just forgot the actor's name, but he plays. He's on Ted Lasso. He plays Jamie on Ted Lasso. He's even being right now. His name is being thrown out there as possibly being the next Flash. So there's a lot of names that are
an English Flash.
Well, who knows? English.
It's a multiverse. So now you can have whatever you want being the Flash. So
that's for sure.
For me, I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was the best superhero film and probably the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, just what's been released, stuff like Ant-Man and what else is out there, and Shazam, and even like the last Wonder Woman movie, just all seemed kind of flat. The story was boring. I didn't care for anything. I was just kind of like, okay, I'm just here for another superhero movie. Like, I always talk about superhero fatigue or these kind of movies. People are just kind of bored now, and so But with this one, it really drew me in. I really loved all the situations that they put the characters in, and how even though he tried as hard as he could, if Flash tried as hard as he couldn't end up saving certain people in the movie, even with all of the powers that he had.
There were still some things that
there was some
yeah.
things about destiny that just couldn't be changed or fixed. So
I don't know. I mean, also you've got. I just thought of it too. Wonder Woman's in this too. You know, it seems like Gal Gadot is making appearances and everything.
Yeah.
But I don't know. When you say that, when you tell me that it's one of the best in the last couple of years, I have a hard time with that because I do think that the Spider-Man from 2 years ago was one of the best superhero movies ever made.
So yeah,
and a lot of the things that they do in this with the time travel and bringing back different characters and the multiverse, it was already done by Spider-Man. So,
right, but it was animated though. I mean,
no. I'm not talking about the animated version.
I'm talking about the Tom Holland.
Where they brought
you know
back,
what? That one was really good.
Where they brought back Andrew Garfield,
Yes.
and they brought back Tobey Maguire.
I take it back.
And they were, and it was so well done. And basically Flash. What Flash is doing for DC on the DC side is a very similar what we already saw with Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have on both companies, they have the multiverse to allow them to open up more storylines for more readers to have more books.
Right. I did like the Superman tribute in this one though.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
We had all the original George Reeves, and then she shows him as being Superman on one planet, and then you have Christopher Reeve with Helen Slater. He was Superman forever, and then you even have the whole universe that had Nick Cage as Superman.
Yeah, if you don't know, I think they were trying to put together some movie with Nick Cage, and then there was something about fighting a spider.
Yeah,
and they actually added it into this little movie,
right?
This little part of the movie.
Yeah, I remember that when this happened. I want to say it was late '80s, early '90s. I can't remember, but Nick Cage was so excited about playing the role that he actually named his son Kal-El.
Yeah, it had to have been late '90s.
Yeah, okay, late '90s maybe. I'm not sure the time frame, but
but they were missing like some of the TV ones, like Nick or not Kid.
Yes.
Who was the name of
Dean Cain?
Dean Cain.
And Tom Welling was not from Smallville, right? We talked about that.
They should have had some of those in there as well, because they did have the original TV Superman and the black and white one. I forget his name. But
talk about deja vu.
Yeah. So, but
I'll give it this. I'm going to give Flash this. It's a good story with a good supporting cast, a strong supporting cast. But I still, the hardest part for me, and Ezra Miller's life, whatever he's going through in his life, I'm not worried about that. I'm talking about the character of itself. To me, was really hard to enjoy, to like. So if I could take that out and like everything else, then I think it would be pretty good.
Yeah, maybe there was some '90s nostalgia for me seeing Batman on the screen. I was excited for that. But again, I just loved what he was trying to do, how he was trying to save his parents, and ultimately coming up with a solution that didn't fix everything, but fixed it enough to where he could still have one parent around. So, Andy, what would you give this movie?
I'm gonna have to give it a 6.
Give it a 6.
Kind of low, but
I really like this movie, and I want to give it a high score, but I'm gonna give it an 8. Only just thinking back on some of the things that might have been missing. I know some of the people. I saw a review, also, or some where people were saying that they didn't like the CGI, that it looked kind of low budget on certain spots. And I know that there was the scene where he's saving the babies at the very beginning.
Oh yeah, so that was a good scene.
Yeah, it was a good scene, but yeah, the CGI was kind of lacking.
That scene reminded me a little bit of the one scene that I like in the X-Men movie where with Quicksilver was played by he's Evan Peters. Quicksilver was played by Evan Peters. Is that one scene where he's running in and saving everybody. And that Flash scene kind of reminded me of that.
Right. It's kind of silly, but I get why they made it so kind of the animation or the CGI wasn't that great because it was like a silly scene. But with given that, I'm gonna give it a strong 8 though. So definitely check it out. It's in theaters now.
Family friendly,
definitely. And let us know what you think of the movie yourself in the comments.
Are you leaning towards my 6 or more towards his 8?
Yeah. So see how it goes.
Just the facts, man. Just the facts.
Okay. Give us the breakdown. Give us
Extraction 2 on Netflix. It is what I would definitely call a popcorn movie. Go Julia. And it has Tyler Rake, played by Chris Hemsworth, and he's back from the dead to save a family from a ruthless criminal with his team. I think their names are Nick and Yaz, at the request of another off-the-books agency led by none other than the famous Idris Elba. Elba. Can't even talk today.
Elba? I don't know.
Yeah, is it Idris? I think it's Idris, isn't it?
I have no idea. We'll have to figure it out later. But Yeah. Do you think it's fair that people? I mean, I know it's a movie, but do you think it's fair that they can just resurrect characters like this? Like when at the end of the first one, you thought that's the end of the story. Like, he's dead.
I think it depends what you know or you didn't know. I knew from the get-go that they had signed up to make 2 movies.
Okay.
So I even though it looked like he was dying at the end of the first one, I knew there was going to be another movie, so I knew he was going to survive.
I mean, you take that many bullets, it's just this Call of Duty type thing where like the one gunman or the small team just takes on an army of people, and I just felt like I was watching a video game the entire time. It's just like he just respawned, and so I'm glad they didn't do that at the end of the second one. But yeah, he's just out there just running and gunning, shooting everything. He's got all the ammo in the world.
But I also think it's important to note that he is a character that would rather not kill, but he keeps getting pulled back into these difficult situations.
Right.
And then because of that, man, we got a 6-week montage getting ready to go back and fight the bad guys.
Yeah.
Push-ups, sit-ups, cutting the logs.
Yeah, he was doing the
running in the snow.
Yeah. The whole Rambo thing, the suited and booted, ready
got
to go.
Rambo, John Wick, Jason Bourne, and now we've got Tyler Rake.
Tyler Rake, yeah, just out there, unstoppable forces. I know, I did like the movie. It wasn't a bad movie. There was a lot of action. There's a lot of things going on to keep your eyeballs on. I liked how I'd never seen that before. Maybe I haven't seen a movie where he ripped his hand in half.
Oh, that was
the bad guys.
Yeah.
When Chris Hemsworth's character was fighting in the tunnels down in the prison. So
this movie made me sweat. I mean, for whatever reason, when there's a scene when there's people fighting on top of a roof, it's so hard to watch. I have panic and I'm sweating and it's like there's definitely some good rooftop fighting sequences too.
If you're afraid of heights, definitely hold on to your seat because it does give me anxiety a little bit too. You're just like, oh my gosh, these guys are like 50 stories, 100 stories high. One slip and they're gone.
No.
So, but they do the impossible. They shoot through the tempered glass and like all these things are just insanely insane.
I don't think it's the best movie I've ever seen, but I do think it's fun. It's a fun watch. It does have a rated R. I was trying to remember. I know there's a lot of violence. I can't remember if there was a whole lot of language in this because I know he was trying to save some kids. But I don't know. It's I'd say it's definitely one you want to watch if you have a chance to see it. Most everyone has Netflix.
This is definitely a turn off your brain. Watch it for fun. It's one of those movies I've said before. We could have it on the background of a party or somewhere. You're gonna catch it, and you're not gonna really miss a whole lot because it's he's gonna go to point A to point Z and destroy everything in between, and be the winner and be the hero of the story.
And I don't like to have the same rating of the one before that I just had, but I'm also going to give Extraction 2 a 6 this week.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give this one probably a 5. Only, I mean, it could be better if there was more of a story to it because it's just run and gun. You're watching a video game.
Yeah,
that's all you're seeing.
And I will agree with that. Nothing new. It's something you've seen before. Down to the montage.
Yeah, down to the montage.
Getting back in shape.
He's getting drawn back in.
One of these days we're gonna film one of those.
Yeah.
Take it.
But Extraction 2 on Netflix. I know it's number 1 as I saw it the other day on Netflix, but that's always changed.
Check it out if you got some time.
Yeah. And this week we are going to watch Elementals as well with our buddy Wade.
Hey, Wade. Don't drink Wade.
Don't drink Wade. Wade, what'd you think of the movie? It was great.
He's going to say that. He was in it.
He was in it. He's going to love it. But Elemental from Disney and Pixar.
Right. In a city where you got fire, water, land, and air, they live together. You've got this a fiery young woman, Leah Lewis, who plays the character of Ember, and a kind of go-with-the-flow boy, Wade. We just threw on the ground. Played, a name for you, a good name. Say Mamadou. Athey. Mamadou Athey is the guy that plays Wade. So
I had no idea.
Up-and-coming actor.
He doesn't even look like usually they try to tie the voice to like the thing, and I had no clue.
Yeah. So. I think he does a good job. I think they're both good voices. They're both different voices. And they discover, obviously, something elemental, and it's that they have more in common than they first thought. So
yeah. So for me, this movie, Disney Pixar, you go into it expecting a lot of heart, a lot of drama, a lot of comedy. but I really didn't find it in this movie at
Yeah.
all. I was kind of lacking a lot. I wanted to really root for these characters. I love a good love story sometimes when it's animated.
I was like, wait a second, who are we talking to?
When
Love
it's animated,
story?
I love Disney movies like
Right.
that. I love just the happily ever after kind of stuff. But this movie, yeah, it didn't grab me at all. I didn't feel anything. I was kind of like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you though. There was good animation, and I read how this was obviously very expensive. It took something like 7 years. They had to get a more powerful computer to make this than any other Pixar movie,
right?
Because you've got
all the fluid effects.
Yes, you got the clouds and the. What character would you think would be the hardest to create?
Usually it's the cloud character.
I would have thought the cloud character too, but they actually said the most difficult character to create was the water characters because they had to deal with all the reflection and refraction elements.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah.
So I guess there was to us it looks so simplistic and so easy, but I guess there was a lot of work that went into creating these characters.
And the engineers that come up with the software to make all this happen they're just geniuses. I couldn't even imagine what kind of math it took to make all this work. But unfortunately, yeah, like I was saying, Pixar, you're better than this.
Yeah, I agree.
It just seems like a cheap. Like I don't know if you got like a new writer, director, a new team working on this one, but I just didn't feel like it was
right.
It's equal to the catalog that they put out in the past.
It's the story. I agree with you. The story is just very predictable.
Yeah.
It's by far not one of Pixar's best. It's probably on lower tier as far as the overall story. But I think audiences are it's kind of got low box office from your typical Pixar movie too. So maybe it didn't really connect to.
I saw The Flash and
audiences
this kind of take a dive on the box office. It really didn't get a lot of traction.
I think people want something new. I don't know. It's been a long time since we've had something really new at the box office. So
yeah, I mean, usually Pixar does that. They had movies like Brave, or they have Ratatouille. Yeah. Or Up, they have all these amazing films with great writing, great storytelling.
Right.
But this one just seemed like, for all the work they put into it, the story just seemed rushed. It didn't seem well thought out. It seemed very paint by numbers.
The little 7 or 8 minute short that happens before the movie, I think it's kind of cool and worth watching because my understanding is that it's Ed Asner's last voiceover work before he passed away. Oh, so, and there's the character from Up returns in a little short. And I think I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I thought that was better than the whole feature that we saw after
I know. So. I'm sorry. I did want to mention Leah Lewis, though, that plays the voice of Ember. Her voice definitely is very unique, and she's kind of another it girl right now in Hollywood. I mean, she is in Nancy Drew, and she's going to be in the new Matlock with Kathy Bates. So she's kind of, she's making the rounds. She seems to be popping up everywhere as well. But again, I know Pixar, you do great animation, but the story was very lacking here for me. I think you agree. So what would you give this as a rating?
I hate to do it, but for me to give a Pixar film, because usually they have their Disney animated studio where like Frozen came from, and like Bolt, and some other movies, where you kind of expected like a lower tier story because it was more for like, I mean, they're all for kids.
I agree.
But the attention to detail or the amount of work needed to make those movies just seemed like it was a little bit less. Just kind of rushed out, get some content out there. And you usually feel that Pixar is the studio that puts out the more dense stories and the more compelling things that just draw you in. But this, it felt lower than that. So I hate to do it, but I'm going to give this one a 4.
Wow, a little lower than me. I'm going to give it a 5.
Yeah.
And I do think it's definitely, obviously family friendly. But you have to go into this understanding that yes, the animation is good, but the story really is not.
It's not good at all.
And I won't say it's not a good story. I'm saying the story is you've seen it before. Yeah. It's something you've seen before.
It's not up to par to what they're doing. So, but anyways, Elemental, check it out. Let us know what you think of it. Maybe we're wrong.
Maybe we're being too mean this week.
Maybe we're
in bad moods because I'm wearing the Bowser shirt.
We're two grumpy old guys that need to feel something in our lives every once in a while.
Okay, where's Wade? I want to drink him now.
See you later, Wade. But anyways, Elemental. Check it out. Everyone, again, thanks you. I should just post the bloopers.
It's gonna be hysterical now. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, all right, here we go.
Straight face.
Okay.
All right. Everyone, again, thank you so much for sticking with us to the end of the show. It really does help us out. We're slowly but surely growing this channel.
Facebook page continues to grow. That's good.
So look forward to some more shows coming weekly as we best we can.
I think on the TV front, we've got The Bear and Secret Invasion this week.
Yeah, and
it's that Wes Anderson movie. What's that one called?
And Asteroid City.
Asteroid City is coming out soon.
Yeah, if you're a big fan of Wes Anderson, definitely gonna not want to miss the next review from us about it. So, anyways, we'll see you next time.
Thanks you from the bottom of our heart.
Thanks you from the bottom of our heart.
Later, guys.
Bye-bye.